Good morning. The issues that may concern the largest group of users are multimedia system failures. Not only are they considered outdated, but they also tend to hang up, and upholstery that wears out, mainly on the driver's seat and mainly leather, sometimes after 30 to 50,000 kilometers of mileage. Toyota RAV4s equipped with a sunroof sometimes struggle with its leaking, and the boot lid does not always want to open. In versions equipped with electrics for this element, there are also suspicious noises when closing the lid, creaking, cracking. But eliminating unwanted sounds has a chance to be cheap. Repair prices start from approx. 200 polished zlotys. The central locking does not always work properly. In this category, one of the few recurring problems is steering gear failure. Alternatively, you can also look at the hybrid version's braking system. If someone drives very gently, there is a possibility that the discs will be suitable for replacement due to corrosion. This is related to the fact that during gentle deceleration in hybrid cars, such as the Toyota RAV4 Hybrid 2016 to 2018, the classic braking system is not activated because the electric motor, or motors in versions with four-wheel drive, is responsible for slowing down. Some people complain about noisy suspension, but it is usually not related to any fault, but it is definitely related to poor soundproofing. You should also pay attention to the anti-corrosion protection of the chassis. According to some owners of these cars, it is too weak. In the case of cars that are turning 10 this year, it would be a good idea to spray them with anti-corrosion agent from the bottom before winter. Only the 2-liter 152 horsepower engine from the ZR series was offered here. It is one of the most successful petrol engines of recent years. In fact, the only problem that is heard about quite regularly is the low durability of the water pump. Sometimes there is increased oil consumption, or slight sweating. The Valvematic variable valve lift system may fail. This is not super frequent, but due to the cost of repair, nearly 3,000 Polish zlotys is the cost of parts alone, without labor. It is worth mentioning. Sometimes Toyotas with 2.5-liter 180 horsepower engines come in from the US. They belong to a different series, AR, specifically 2ARFE, but it's hard to talk about any major problems here. What's more, basically the only recurring fault here is a water pump failure. According to some, this drive unit has been the most durable in Toyota since the 90s. Valvematic doesn't break down here at all, because it doesn't have one. A very similar engine, but operating in the Atkinson cycle, is the 2ARFXE from the hybrid version. The power of the combustion engine alone is 155 HP. The power of the entire system is 197 HP. In terms of reliability, it does not differ from the 2ARFE. Here it is worse, definitely worse. Until the modernization, 2016, Toyota used its own 2.0 and 2.2 D4D engines, belonging to the AD series. These are the ones that became famous for eroding aluminum blocks, although the RAV4 4th generation used an improved version of them. One should still reckon with the risk of problems with the head gasket or the head itself. An alternative is the new 2.0 D4D engine with 143 HP. The old 2.0 had 124 HP, and the 2.2 to 150 HP marked 2WW, and in practice it is a work of BMW N47. Toyota RAV4 has taken over all its failures and shortcomings, led by the poor quality timing drive. The only consolation here is the fact that due to the transverse placement of the engine under the hood, access to these elements is easier. It is not a tragic engine, but it is equally far from being an excellent one. Another strong point of the Japanese SUV, not only the ECVT planetary gearboxes from the hybrid version are considered trouble-free, but also the 6-speed manual gearboxes, which are standard equipment in Europe for all versions except the hybrid. The only problem that can be pointed out in the case of the manual is the so-so precision of work. However, this is not a symptom of a failure. It is simply that this type is like that. Automatic transmissions, standard in the American Toyota RAV4 2.5, optional in the 2.2 D4D, and continuously variable multi-drive S, CVT, optional in the petrol version 2.0, also leave a good impression. Provided that proper care is taken and the oil is changed regularly, both options are worth considering. The 4th generation Toyota RAV4 was available with 3 types of drive, front-wheel drive, and 2 types of 4x4. The only petrol variant 2.0 and diesel 2.2 always have 4x4. The remaining versions were either available in FWD, front-wheel drive versions, or even appeared only in this configuration, American RAV4 2.5. The aforementioned 2.2, D4D, and 2.0 models have an optional rear axle drive, using a viscous clutch. If necessary, it can transfer up to 50% of torque to the rear axle. There have been no reported problems, although it should be noted that this type of solution is not suitable for intensive off-road use. It may simply overheat, resulting in loss of rear axle drive. The hybrid version with four-wheel drive has no physical connection between the combustion engine and the rear wheels. There is an additional electric motor at the rear axle, offering 68 horsepower and 139 Newton-meters, which drives the rear wheels when needed. This solution is also not suitable for off-road, but on the road, especially in bad weather conditions, it noticeably improves traction. Here too, it is difficult to talk about repeatable problems. Of course, assuming that no one would even think of buying a diesel. In practice, the only argument for spending money on a RAV4 fueled with a black pistol could be the planned frequent use of the car on motorways and expressways, where neither the hybrid nor the petrol versions could boast equally low fuel consumption. In other cases, petrol and hybrid are the only right choice, with the reservation that hybrid RAV4s are simply expensive. They were produced for a short time and only after facelift. The oldest copies are 6 years old, and demand is high. In light of all this, in summary, one can ask, is it worth buying the 4th generation RAV4? The answer is the same as asking whether a wild boar sleeps in the forest. And if you know of any common errors, your comments are welcome.
CarMePro Website ist Katalog aller Automarken, Motoren, Getriebe. Was bricht und bei welchem Kilometerstand? Welche Pakete können Ihre Tasche hart belasten? Dieses und vieles mehr über Autos erfahren Sie auf CarMePro.